The grandmother showed up barefoot at her granddaughter's graduation. Everyone looked at her with disdain. When the granddaughter saw this, she took the microphone, and what she said made everyone cry. This is a moving story. Watch until the end to know the outcome. The small town of Serene Valley had always been a peaceful place, where everyone knew each other, and life stories intertwined like the branches of the ancient trees surrounding the town square. Living there was Grace, a determined young woman about to graduate from high school, carrying in her eyes the hope of a promising future. Grace was no ordinary student. She was the best in her class. Always dedicated, she dreamed of being the first in her family to go to college. To her, graduation was not just a school event, but a symbol of overcoming obstacles and hard work. Everyone in the town admired her for her intelligence and determination, but few knew the true source of her strength. Her grandmother, Margaret. Margaret was a simple woman, with hands calloused from fieldwork and a heart full of love. She had raised Grace alone after the premature death of the girl's parents in a car accident. Life had never been easy, but Margaret always taught her granddaughter to be resilient and to value education above all. It was common to see the two sitting on the porch, Margaret knitting and Grace studying, with her head full of dreams and her heart warmed by her grandmother's presence. On the day of the graduation, Serene Valley was celebrating. The school was decorated with colorful ribbons and balloons, and the students paraded in their elegant attire, ready to celebrate the great achievement. Grace was radiant in her blue dress, carefully chosen for the occasion. She couldn't wait to receive her diploma and share the moment with Margaret, who was her greatest inspiration. The graduation ceremony began with inspiring speeches from teachers and local authorities, highlighting the value of education and the importance of pursuing dreams. The students were called one by one to receive their diplomas, and with each name announced, applause echoed through the hall. When it was Grace's turn, a murmur of admiration spread through the audience. She walked up to the stage with steady steps and a proud smile. Receiving that diploma represented not just years of hard study, but also all the hardships she and Margaret had faced together. Looking at the audience, Grace immediately sought her grandmother's familiar face. That's when she saw her. Margaret stood at the back of the hall, with a serene expression and bare feet. Shock ran through Grace's body like lightning. Why was her grandmother barefoot at such an important event? Murmurs and reproachful looks began to emerge among those present, and Grace could feel the weight of the people's judgment. Margaret, with her dignified posture, seemed oblivious to the curious looks. To her, being there was the most important thing. She wore her best dress, a simple but clean and well-cared-for outfit, reserved for special occasions. But her bare feet told a story that no one there knew. Grace, still on stage, felt a mix of emotions. Part of her wanted to run to her grandmother and protect her from those cruel looks, while another part struggled to understand the situation. As she received the diploma, she realized she needed to do something to change the heavy atmosphere. She took the microphone firmly and prepared to speak. "Good evening, everyone," Grace began, her voice trembling slightly, but gaining strength with each word. "Today is a very special day for me and for all of us who are graduating, but I would like to tell you a story that few know." The murmurs ceased, and the hall fell into an expectant silence. The woman you see there, at the back of the hall, is my grandmother, Margaret. Many of you know her by sight, but few know the real struggle she faced so that I could be here today. Grace took a deep breath, feeling the emotion tighten her throat. My grandmother lost her parents very early and had to work since she was a child. When my parents died, she took on the responsibility of raising me alone. With calloused hands, she planted and harvested, always believing that education was the key to a better future. Margaret's eyes sparkled with tears as she listened to her granddaughter's words. Today, she is barefoot because, for years, she saved every penny so that I could have a quality education. She saved on everything, even shoes, so that I would never have to miss school. Grace's voice resonated through the hall, laden with an emotion that touched everyone present. My grandmother taught me that a person's value is not in their possessions, but in their character and the strength of their heart. Today, she is here, barefoot, to remind me that all the sacrifices she made were not in vain. The audience, previously full of looks of disdain, was now immersed in reflective silence, many eyes filled with tears, and some faces contorted with shame. Grace continued, now with a firmer voice. I want everyone here to know that every step I take in the future will be thanks to the courage and determination of this incredible woman. And if I achieve anything in life, it will be because she taught me to never give up, even in the face of the greatest adversities. Grace stepped down from the stage, walking towards her grandmother, who awaited her with open arms. The two embraced for a long time, their tears mixing in a gesture of love and gratitude. The crowd, now touched by the life story they had just heard, began to applaud, standing. It was an applause not only for Grace, but mainly for Margaret, whose sacrifice and dedication were now recognized by all. After that night, something changed in Serene Valley. People began to look at Margaret with new respect, understanding the true value of her sacrifices. Grace and her grandmother's story became an example of resilience and unconditional love. Grace, now a young woman, was ready to face the world with the same determination her grandmother had taught her. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but with Margaret by her side, she felt capable of overcoming any obstacle. That graduation day was not just a milestone in Grace's life, but also a moment of transformation for the entire community. They learned that a person's true value lies not in their material possessions, but in their ability to love and sacrifice for the good of others. With graduation over, Grace faced the challenge of entering college. She knew it would not be easy, as besides financial difficulties, there was the pressure of being the first in the family to walk this path. Margaret, always present, helped her prepare all the necessary documentation and study for the admission tests. In the days leading up to the exam, Grace studied hard, often late into the night. Margaret was always nearby, offering support and encouraging words. You can do it, my granddaughter. Everything you need is within you, she repeated with a smile full of pride. When the exam day arrived, Grace was nervous but determined. She entered the exam room with the image of her grandmother in mind, feeling inspired by all the struggle and dedication she represented. After hours of intense concentration, she left the room feeling a mix of relief and anticipation. The days that followed were filled with anxiety. Grace and Margaret waited eagerly for the exam results. Every day, the tension increased, but their mutual support kept them strong. One sunny afternoon, the postman arrived with a letter that would change their lives forever. Grace opened the envelope with trembling hands. As she read the words, "accepted," her eyes filled with tears. I did it, Grandma. I did it. Margaret hugged her tightly, sharing the joy and relief of that moment. The news spread quickly through Serene Valley, and once again, the community gathered to celebrate. Grace, now about to embark on a new journey, felt grateful for all the support and love she received. She knew the road would be long and full of challenges, but she was ready to face them with courage and determination. With the acceptance to college, Grace and Margaret began planning the move to the big city. Although the thought of leaving Serene Valley was painful, they both knew it was necessary to achieve Grace's dreams. The preparations were intense. Grace packed her things, while Margaret made sure everything was in order for the new life that awaited them. The community once again united to offer support, from financial help to words of encouragement. On the day of departure, the town square was filled with friends and neighbors who came to say goodbye. Grace and Margaret boarded the bus with heavy hearts but full of hope. As the vehicle pulled away, they looked out the window and waved, feeling a mix of longing and excitement for what was to come. The arrival in the city was a cultural shock for Grace and Margaret. Used to the tranquil pace of Serene Valley, they now found themselves amid the hustle and bustle of urban life. Grace started her classes at the university, facing academic and social challenges but always relying on her grandmother's unwavering support. Margaret, in turn, found ways to contribute, doing small jobs to supplement their income. Her hardworking spirit and charismatic nature quickly won the sympathy of the neighbors, who admired her for her life story. Despite the difficulties, Grace excelled at the university, always motivated by the desire to repay all of Margaret's sacrifices. Each academic achievement was celebrated with enthusiasm, and the young student became increasingly confident in her abilities and the future that awaited her. Years passed, and Grace was about to graduate from college. The journey to that point had been full of challenges, but also many victories. Margaret, now older but still strong and determined, continued to stand by her granddaughter, being her greatest source of inspiration. On the night of Grace's university graduation, the auditorium was packed. Friends, professors, and colleagues were present to celebrate this special moment. Grace, wearing a gown that symbolized years of effort and dedication, walked up to the stage to receive her diploma. Looking at the audience, Grace saw Margaret sitting in the front row with a radiant smile on her face. This time, her grandmother wore new shoes, a gift from Grace to symbolize the overcoming of all the adversities they had faced together. With the diploma in hand, Grace gave an emotional speech, thanking everyone who had supported her, especially Margaret. "Everything I am and everything I have achieved is thanks to this incredible woman who never gave up on me," she said, her voice choked with emotion. The auditorium rose in applause, many with tears in their eyes. Grace and Margaret's journey was a living testament that, with love, determination, and sacrifice, any obstacle can be overcome. They had turned hardships into victories and left an indelible mark on the hearts of everyone who knew their story. At the end of the ceremony, Grace and Margaret embraced for a long time, feeling the weight of all the years of struggle and the joy of each achievement. Life still held many challenges, but together, they knew they could face anything. Their story was a testament to the power of love and resilience, inspiring everyone to never give up on their dreams.